So welcome back to my channel. So we are continuing our discussion, and today we'll be looking at the English sentence. My name remains Authe-Nwabueze. So by way of introduction, so let's look at what we'll be discussing. So in this lesson, we'll be discussing the English sentences. We'll discuss types of sentences. We'll discuss the classification of sentences by structure and function. And we also identify and use properly. We also identify and use them properly in examples. So what are the possible learning outcomes? So let's look at them. By the end of the lesson, you'll be able to define English sentences, identify sentences of English, identify types of English sentences, and also construct them in examples. So essentially, this is what we'll be doing here. So let's start. So the English sentence. So what essentially when you are defining it, what do you mean? So it is a larger unit of the English syntactic structure. We have discussed this. Essentially you look at we started of course looking at we started looking at when you talk about person, you talk about the morpheme, then you talk about the word, then you talk about the phrase, you talk about the clause. Of course, at times, as you're going to see, a clause can actually, or what you call a clause, is at times will also be, because it has the same structure actually with the sentence, as you're going to see as you go along. So we are just saying that this is the largest unit. So the syntactic unit is the from these categories we are looked at is the sentence. So this lesson will show you the makeup of the English sentence. That's the structure, how it is structured. We also identify the types of structure that it has, as well as the functions they use to perform. And then we also guide you into how you can identify them and construct your own sentences, examples for practice. So let's get into it now to begin to talk about the types of English sentences. So let's classify them first by their structure. When we were in class, I was giving examples of the classification. So of course we are going to first of all look at the classification in relation to their structure. So let me not get ahead of myself. So from the example that I gave, so first we look at the simple, the compound, the complex, and then the compound complex. So these are the types of structure that we have. So let's look at the first one. Now, what I must mention is this, that when we talk about structure, we are talking about the physical makeup. Let me put it like that. Like the example I gave in the class, I said, okay, maybe you're talking about a woman or a female. Now, a female could be a baby, could be a girl, could be a teenager, could be a woman, could be a mature woman, a grandmother, any of this. So these there are peculiar features, and that's why we always say that like the femaleness is a social construct, or gender is a social construct. It's not a biological fact. It's a social construct, because when you begin to say it's only women that can cook, it's not true. The women, some men are very good. And so women, like personally now, I have things I don't like as house chores. I have things I don't like doing. I like things that I like to do. So even the society will tell you you must do this and all of that, but then there are a lot of things I like to do. But somebody will say because I'm a woman, I'm supposed to do them. But I mean, it is crazy. I don't enjoy doing it. I don't enjoy washing plates. So if you tell me I should wash plates, you're just punishing me. Some people say I don't enjoy ironing clothes. And some people say, oh, but why are you a woman? For God's sake, did God say that it's only a woman that can do that? So men, and but you find some men, they will enjoy doing these things. And not men that enjoy cooking. Then you not say, oh, she become woman rapper because of that. So, but let us leave matter to talk matter. So essentially what I'm making is the point I'm making. Like I'm in a place now, I'm the only woman that's among many professors we are sharing facility together. Even though I just look at it that they will not say woman is there and the place is dirty and all of that. So I was supposed to buy things for cleaning and all of that. But I just felt that for me, it is not a matter of my being a woman. And I'm glad that some of them pick the things. Some of the other male occupants, they pick the things and clean up the place. But there's nothing to say that because I'm a woman, they're a professor. I'm a professor. So there's nothing that say that I must be the one that's doing the house chores. So it doesn't make sense. It is madness. It's madness because no professor is less than the other because one is a woman. Yeah, a woman may choose to do it, or a woman will feel more irritated and not I'll be able to look away because she's a woman or whatever. But there's nothing to say that it's a gender thing. So and that's the point. So but we are talking about structure. So there are peculiar features that are female. A woman is the one that will have breasts. A woman is the one that will have vagina. A woman is the one that will have physical structure that are considered feminine. Let me put it like that. I think it's better to construct it like that. So that is the way it is with structure. So a structure, when we talk about sentential structure, we are talking about the way it is made up. So the first one we're looking at is the simple sentence. So this sort of sentence has basic structure. It is made up of the basic meaning content that involves the structure, like the subject, verb, object. So looking at it from the traditional, of course, if you are looking at the more complex syntactic models, you may want to question this, but then let's just look at it basically. What the basic structure of the sentence? It has a subject, it has a verb, it has object or complement, as the case may be. So it has one clause and made up of one verbal structure. So essentially, and this is why I was talking about the issue of clause and base sentence, that all clauses, how you differentiate a clause from a phrase essentially is that it has its nucleus as the verbal element. So of course, if you talk about verb phrase, you now say, oh, does it not have verb? But you know what I mean, that when I'm talking about a sentence that have all the components or most of the components, because that's another thing. But when you see the nucleus that make it up is the verbal element or the predicator, then you are talking about having a simple sentence. So it has only one clause made up of one verbal structure. So I'm a woman, I love my mother, she's my sister, I'm a student of English, today is a good girl, University of Benin is located in Benin City, this is your house. In all these cases, we are having the verbal element being there. So the first one, we have am as verbal element, love being the verbal element, is being the verbal for the third one, again is the well, when you see now the first one that you see, of course you have simple pronouns as their subjects here too, but you're having a whole um complement that is made up of, anyway, you call it a bit of a complex complement, because you have a student of English which is having an AP that is followed also by a PP, in this case, but they are making up actually a component. So then today is a good girl, you're having again an MP, a complex, anyway, not really complex MP, but a noun phrase that is a bit more detailed. It has determiner, it has adjective, and it has get. So when the University of Benin, which is the name, is a proper noun, then you have just this verb is located. So that make up the verbal phrase in Benin City, Edo State, of course, which is about location now, a prepositional phrase. So you have a very complex prepositional phrase there. So a prepositional phrase that is also followed by a proper noun. Then you are having, this is your house. So again, you are having the terminal followed by a noun, and then you have the relative pronoun here. So, or you actually call it a reflexive one if you wish to call it that, but I think it's safer to just call it a relative pronoun here. So you're having all these things made up, and just as simple as that. So it is the way it's structured that determines this. Then you look at the compound sentence. So you're having this has to do with two sets of equal setters brought together in one sentence. So of course, two simple sentences, I must say. So let me put it like that. Two structures. So maybe it's safer to say two structures of equal status are brought together, because you will see some of the compounding is actually is assumed, but you have ellipses. So let's see, they are usually connected by the use of coordinating conjunctions. And let's look at some examples. So Shola bought a new dress and a pair of shoes. So you have the coordination is a new dress and a pair of shoes. So you have it at the complement level. We have the man and his wife are newly married. So this is the subject where you have a complex, a compounded subject. So that you have here. Then to cry or not to cry is his confusion, or we will say is dilemma. So to cry or not to cry. So in this case now, we are actually having the condition being to infinitive. And then you have, I love to travel a lot, but I need a lot of money. So here you are having an adversity. If you remember from our last class, an adversity or bad that is connecting these two clauses. I love to travel a lot, but then you have, I need a lot of money to do it. So we are having a coordination at that level. So compound sentences are actually joined by coordinated conjunctions like we have seen. Let's look at complex. So in creating complex sentences, the main feature is that there's an independent clause and one or more dependent clauses. So the independent clause is considered to be of higher status than the dependent clauses. Then let's see some examples here. And the man began to run when the police attempted to arrest him. So you are having the man began to run, which is the main clause. Then when the police attempted to arrest him, become the dependent clause. So you have what you call subordinator. A subordinator that actually introduce the complexity into the sentence, introduce the subordinate or the dependent clause. So I love to play Ludo game because it relaxes me. So because it relaxes me, because it's dependent here, if you can go back to the house, you will find that your mother has arrived. So again, you have here a preposition, and that's what I need to mention here. If you can go back to the house, so if actually has make this particular clause and you have a preposition, so the dependent clause is coming first, and in that case, of course, introduced or subordinated by the conditional if, but you have now a comma. So a comma is what actually marks it off, and that's also another way you can actually identify a subordinate clause. My mother loves to kiss me whenever she's feeling happy with me. So again, we are looking at whenever as introducing or as the subordinator for the clause that is dependent here. So my mother loves to kiss me, so you can stand alone. But when you say whenever she's feeling happy, so that is the reason that she kisses me. So it's dependent on the main clause. When I got home, I went straight to take my bath. So you see here now, when I got home, is again a subordinator that introduces it when and is proposed to the initial part of the sentence, and then you see that means that it has to be marked up with a comma. So these are features that you should take note of when you are looking at this particular kind of sentence to identify. So when you look at compound complex sentence, so let's say that this sort of sentence brings together the compound and complex sentence types in one sentence. So they are so the particular structure here now, we are seeing the two features manifesting in a particular sentence. So what marks off a compound sentence and what marks up a subordinate sentence are both featuring in one same sentence. So let's look at the examples. So in this example, the man and his wife just got married last year because she did not have the means to marry her earlier. So you have the man and his wife. You see, we have used this example before as compound. They will not see now the dependent clause here, and because you have a coordination of the MPs in the subject, so it makes the compound. But because now have a subordinator to give us the reason why she didn't marry her earlier, then we now see it becomes a compound complex. So there was a good boy, but since he got involved with Rodney, who was serious, who has serious criminal tendencies, we cannot vouch for his character anymore. So you are having now a relative clause subsumed to the compounded main clause, which of course is extended again. So this of course marks it up and makes it a compound complex. So when you get to cook dinner, but ensure that you did not burn it. So you are having a proposed subordinate clause that is that then you now have the coordinated one, cook dinner but ensure that you did not burn. Again, you're having another, after ensure, you have another you're having a relative clause that is following again, referring again that cook, ensure are coordinated, but dinner is now having a relative clause that is expanding it. So Ovie just got the scholarship to study in England. You are having a semicolon. He was also promised a job after finishing his course, even though his family used to be so poor. So we are having here the coordination is actually done with the semicolon, like you're having here that is coordinating the two elements that form the main clause, and then you now have even though that explains why if that job will be an important thing. So that subordinates the last part of the sentence. So this is how you easily identify a compound complex sentence. So let's look at the next one, classification of sentences by their functions. So types of English sentence in relation to their function. So let's identify them. You have the declarative sentence, the interrogative sentence, the imperative sentence, and then you have the exclamatory sentence. So let's take them one after the other. The declarative sentence essentially functions as an information conveyor, and it passes information to the receiver. So that's essentially what it does. It's just giving information, basically. So it is. So let's look at some example. It is raining. I am a woman. I teach English language at the University of Benin. I'm a 200 level student of Department of English and Literature. I have a big dog that I train to catch thieves easily. I love my mother even though she sometimes beats me when I am stubborn. So we try in class to actually look at, yes, this is declarative sentence because essentially it's giving information, but we also look at the structure to differentiate it. Now when you look at the first one, it is raining. Basically it's a simple sentence. You look at I'm a woman, basically it's a simple sentence. I teach English language at the University of Benin, basically it's a simple sentence. I'm a 200 level student of Department of English and literature. Again, basically it's a simple sentence because we see that Department of English and Literature is a compounded I know it's not compounded, is what do you call it now? What's the name now? If it's the actual name of this thing now, it's a proper noun. So yeah, so that's what I'm looking for. So you see here now that all this long complement is actually a simple sentence. I have a big door that I train to catch thieves easily. Now that is a complex sentence because it has a subordinate that I trained. Now I love my mother even though she sometimes beat me when I am stubborn. So again, you have a complex sentence. So you have this complex structure here, but all of them are doing the function they're performing, that they are giving out information, which is important point that we need to take note of here. So sorry about that. So we'll look at the next interrogative sentence. So this sort of sentence essentially seeks for information. We say that the first one actually the first one gives information, whereas this one is the one that is trying to get information. So his function is thus to interrogate in order to access information from those it is directed at. So let's see some examples. Example, what is your name? So indeed, tell us in the comment section what is your name. Do you always, and you can also tell us where you are watching from. So do you always get angry when provoked? And me, that's the question. So if you don't get angry when provoked, then you must be very calm, a very calm person. So let us know in the question, in the comment section, where do you live? Yeah, so tell us where you live, where you are watching this video from. Am I supposed to allow you to insult me and keep quiet while you are at it. Okay, so let's do the same thing we did looking at the structure of the sentence. So this interrogative sentence is seeking for information. So all the questions we have, they want you to provide an answer. But let's look at their structure. So what is your name? That's simple. You always get angry when provoked. Okay, so in this case now you're actually having two verbal elements. So we may say that this is a question that is actually structured as a complex sentence. So where do you live? Again, you have only one verbal element there. So that tells you that this is a simple structure, again, interrogative structure. Am I supposed to allow you to insult me and keep quiet while you are at it? So you're having a compound complex because you are having insult me and keep quiet. So the verbal complement here and the verbal structure and the complement here, they are coordinated. While you are at it is a subordinate, so you have a compound complex. So all this way I'm doing is just for to differentiate between the function and don't get them confused. The sentence that you are passing or you are looking at in terms of the structure, when you are looking at the kind of information, so the function is performing is asking questions, but then when you look at the structure, it also has an easy way for you to identify the kind of structure it has. So let's look at the next one, imperative sentence. So this sort of sentence essentially gives a command. So it wants you to do something and it's giving you the order to do it. So you give directives, I expect the order to be carried out. So let's look at some examples. Get out of here. Bring that book back right now. Sit down. Will you keep quiet? What is the meaning of that? Let me have some quiet. You should come upstairs right away. Give me that, please. So you look at all the sentences, they also end in period marks. And when you look at their content, what are they trying to do? They're essentially expecting you to carry out an instruction. So, and that is the function it performs. Again, when you look at this kind of structure, essentially this is usually simple because it's if you, I don't know if you can actually give another, maybe you can with a more complicated sentence, but essentially all these examples here that we have here, they are just simple direct because you can see them that they basically have one verbal element. In some cases anyway, we don't really have, maybe if you say go, that would have been, or sit, that would have been just the one, but you have a combination because the list one being sit down. So essentially, we may not be too concerned about the structure of this one. Maybe it's the structure of the declarative. I'll give you a lot more example, and you can give more example and practice more example. But basically, when you have a structure like this, it is not asking you a question. When you say, will you keep quiet? It is not a question that is being asked. You are being given an order. And that is just it. So the person is not asking you that, oh, do you want to keep quiet or not? So the person is commanding you to keep quiet. So that's how you know. So when you look at what is the function, what is that sentence being used for? I think we talked about the fact that when you look at what is it called now? When you look at J.L. Austin's speech act theory, you will see some of these things that somehow manifesting as we're discussing this thing, because when a word is spoken and then you look at the content and then what is this expecting you to be performed, so well you can relate it with this particular thing we are talking about. So when somebody is expecting you to do what they are doing, they give me order, then this kind of sentence they're having a call that is you to make that command or that demand is called an imperative sentence. So let's look at the exclamatory sentence now. And this is the fourth one among the one we have identified. So sort of sentence essentially expresses emotions. It is used to convey the speaker's strong feeling of emotion about what they are talking about, and it tends to end with the exclamatory mark. So this is the feature, like we see one example there that I say, will you keep quiet? So now if you look at basically it packs emotion. So a command may actually be given without it packing a emotion. So that's just the point that I think it's better that we should make here. But exclamatory marks will definitely be packed with emotion, because the exclamatory mark is supposed to express that there's an emotional intensity involved in what is being expressed. So let's look at some other. Who are you? Is the person asking? No, the person is not asking you to tell him, but it's just challenging you. So the person is probably expressing anger and telling you that you're not, I mean, doesn't want to know who you are, or you are not a useless person, or you're not up to what the person wants, or whatever. So, but essentially, this is what this is about. Shut up. So the person, I'm not too sure I like that. So the person is telling you basically uh, that they are not happy with what you're doing. Why won't you just keep quiet? So is this person asking a question? No. This is actually another, and it's expressed with emotional intensity. You are so mean. I love you. You are the best. Get out of here. Thank you. So you can simply say thank you, that just an expression, declaration, but then you can also say thank you that is intensely emotional. And so these are examples, and you see that they tend to, why declaration sentence will end with simple full stop, interrogative question will end with a question mark, and again the command question I said they are involved with emotional intensity, and one example we have, they will have only full stop ending them, but exclamatory sentence always ends with an exclamatory mark. So this is also an important thing that we need to take note of here. So that is it for that. So I think essentially we can begin to go to the next issue here. Let's look at the summary. So in this lesson, we are actually introduced to the sentence structure in English. We are trying to expose you to different types of sentences we have in English. We also identify a classification of the sentences we have in English, and we have given you examples in the course of the work. So you can. So thank you.